Meeting room. There we go. Admit all. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Casey. Okay. All right. We got a good, healthy group. So, out of curiosity, can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Just out of curiosity, when I accessed the web courses Zoom account, it said that this meeting was scheduled for 2:30 and it's supposed to be 3 o'clock. So did you guys get a notice that said 2:30 or 3 o'clock from web courses?
I saw it at 2:30.
Okay.
I've just been sitting here for like, I don't know, 15 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I apologize for that, folks. I'll have to get that fixed. It's supposed to be from 3 to 5:30, more or less. So 2:30 would be actually way too soon. So I'll see what happened with that. Okay. So this is probably what we're going to get. 16 is usually what we get. So that's a good start. Let me, I'll just share my screen with you folks, I guess. And that way I can pull up web courses, which I have buried underneath here. And we can check out the class layout together. So, okay. Yeah, see, it's coming up 2:30 on my thing. So that needs to change. That won't work for us. Here's what I'm going to do. Uh-oh, what happened? Is I have left. I had a really good capstone semester in the fall. Had a number of guests come from the outside to talk to the students and talk about, you know, vendor services or networking relationships or technical tutorials and so forth. And so I'm going to leave those up, I think, as pre-recorded sessions that you folks can access at any time that you want, and check out what those guest speakers had to offer last semester, and where the opportunities present themselves. I will see if I can bring in some new talent to go over some more of the topics that we're looking at this month or this semester, and see if we can't add to that list of pre-recorded videos. So this is Capstone, and so you folks are all seniors now, right? On the verge of graduating. Okay, that's a good thing. So I noticed recognize a couple of names from some of my other classes, which is cool. So welcome back to those folks. So everybody here is going to graduate what, like in the spring, in May? That's great. Uh-oh, somebody's nodding their head like, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
No, it's going to be summer for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but at least it's on the horizon, right? You can see the light at the end of the tunnel now.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. All right. Because you know what UCF used to stand for? You can't finish. Seems like everybody tells me a story about how they're not going to graduate on time. So if you're on the mark to get out of here in May, congratulations to you for that. You worked hard and you deserve it. So what this class is supposed to be is kind of a preparatory, um, not introspective, but kind of a forward-looking glance and a backward-looking glance at what you've done here in school, how to get you sort of situated so that when you graduate, you get out of here, you'll have certain things sort of in line, like resumes and, maybe websites or editing reels or whatever it is that you think might help you get work. The idea is to help you or give you some idea of how you're going to approach looking for work when you get out of here. Okay. So that's what we'll talk about. Um, I like these meetings to be less sort of tutorial or less of a lecture and more of an opportunity for you folks to touch base with me, talk about your plans, let me know what you've got going on, and see if I can't offer you any advice to help you move more efficiently in that direction, or give you some idea what ideas or directions you might want to take when when you get out of here. So I have 30 years in the industry working in Hollywood. So I know what it's like to be in your position to where you're about to, unleash on the job market. And maybe you don't have a clue how to accomplish that yet, or maybe you've got a plan and you just need to implement it when you have the time, when you can get out of here and get released from your academic responsibility. So I feel like I'm a good sounding board for that. And that's what I'd like to be for you, if that's at all possible. So there's little assignments and there's things going on in the course that will kind of get you thinking about things like, should I have business cards? What might they look like? Can I do anything to improve the look and presentation of my resume, for instance? Do I need a reel? Um, how do I go about that if I don't already know how to edit, or if I'm not working from those technical sensibilities, stuff like that. And then there's some nice conversations with some of the guest speakers about networking, some of the resources that are out there that are available in Orlando and outside of Orlando, like trade organizations and clubs and things of that nature, with sort of mentorship and networking um, membership that can be a real help and comfort to you when you're on the outside. One of the things about being in college, being in film school, is you have the benefit of this sort of nurturing environment now. To the degree to which you consider it a nurturing environment is entirely up to you, but it is an environment where you are with your peers. You're all kind of going through this experience together. You do have friends that you're in constant contact with that you can bounce ideas off of and share information and news with. It becomes less so when you get out of here, after you've graduated, unless you're this kind of person who keeps tabs on your friends and your associates and makes that a regular part of your daily or weekly responsibilities in terms of networking. So it can be a little lonely when you get out in the world. And so at least with some of these ideas and some of these tools, it might help mitigate some of that anxiety for you and put you on a track to, working as soon as possible after you get out of school. Should I go through the should I go through the website first? I guess I should, just to get it out of the way. I don't really want to hover on the syllabus too much. This is actually the schedule for the semester. It looks pretty daunting, but it's a little bit each week, working towards your ultimate goal of setting yourself up in position to succeed out there in the job market. If we go directly to the syllabus, it's pretty boilerplate stuff. I mean, there's not a whole lot here that I feel like I need to point out specifically to you. I'm sure you've gotten this conversation now from a number of other classes already this semester. There's a few things that might be, worth mentioning. There's no required textbook, for instance, but it's a good idea for the sake of a couple of the assignments to maybe subscribe to, one or two of these sort of free and independent services that you can sign up for and get little news feeds from. Movie Maker Magazine is okay. Film Courage is pretty good. That's mostly interviews with industry professionals talking about industry specific jobs and best practices. A lot of editors, a lot of writers are on Film Courage. But if you want like news feeds, you might consider, what do I get? I get Variety. I get Variety Weekly. I get there's Dateline Hollywood, for instance. All of the links are in here in the syllabus. Check them out. You can go to Hollywood Reporter. You can get there's like a Thursday edition of the Hollywood Reporter that sometimes has job postings in it, things that are going on in and around Hollywood. Variety, Weekly Variety also posts jobs. So the Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline Hollywood, or IndieWire. Any of those are like your Hollywood-centric news feed services that'll pop an email in your inbox every day if you want, giving you the up-to-date news from the film industry. That's really recommended more than a textbook. There's no textbook to work from here. And also these Zoom meetings I picked today because it fits best with my schedule and my other classes. But it's not mandatory that you come to the live session if this is a bad window for you and your own schedule. And what I'll do is these are set to auto record. So like right now, you can see that I've got the recorder going already. And you can go back and watch these whenever it's convenient for you to do so. So you don't have to come to the live sessions. Just check in and see, especially if there's something specific that I'm talking about relevant to a lesson plan or an activity that's on your to-do list, just to get a sense of what the group was talking about and so forth. I'm also going to be pretty soft on things like due dates, as long as you don't abuse the privilege. I understand, seniors have a lot of extra stuff heaped on them that you have to take care of so that you can just graduate. And I feel for you. I really do. I've been through it. I understand what it feels like. And so what I don't want is for this course to represent for you any added anxiety on top of all that other stuff that you're already trying to get worked out. So I'm putting due dates up there because, it's kind of, it goes part and parcel with the lesson plans and stuff too. It's not, if you get real far behind, a lot of times it's, you don't get the proper context for an assignment if the conversation has moved down the road and we're talking about different stuff. And then you're looking at the assignment and maybe you got questions or it's not entirely clear to you. And, the class has moved on to other concepts. So if you can stay on top of this stuff, a day or, a day here, a day there in terms of submission deadlines, I'm not going to be too terribly concerned about. If it gets into weeks late, which I've had students do stuff like that, then it's going to cost you something on your overall grade for that assignment. But, I'm going to maintain some soft due dates on stuff and see how it goes. It's more important for you to kind of do the work, because a lot of times what the work will be like a business card design that you're going to need anyway. So you get it done, you get some course credit, and you have an image file you can take to a printer and have a bunch of cards made up or a bunch of resumes made up or whatever it is that we're doing. So all of the activities are designed to benefit you in some way and leave you as often as possible with an artifact as well that will benefit you moving forward. So that's kind of what the assignments are about, and that's what they're based on. The rest of this, like I said, is pretty boilerplate. I mean, take it, give it a read and make sure. I've combed through to try and make sure that I've gotten rid of any superfluous dates that shouldn't be in here. Every once in a while I miss something though. And if you've ever got a question, if there's ever any confusion about due dates or anything, just drop me an email and I will answer you as soon as I possibly can. I just found one here, for instance, midterm presentations will be conducted in October. So I'll go back through and fix that. That's no good. A lot of these things sound like big projects and they're really not. For instance, if I scoop down here to the, it's on the other page. If I go down to the bottom and look at the schedule, for instance, there's things like, where is it? Like trade report, for instance. You got 2 or 3 of those to do. And it sounds like a big deal, right? But really all it is in essence, a, a discussion post based on some things that you've read in the trade journals. So some of these projects are going to sound a little bit more daunting than they really are. The midterm project is also really, really easy. And it's a group project. So, it's really mostly creating awareness for you in the way that you research the topics that are suggested to you in the assignment. You can look that up and check it out if you want. I'm pretty sure, if I can get to my modules page here, I'm pretty sure that any assignment that I've got on here, I have opened up for the whole duration of the course. Let's just see here. Let me pick, intro video is something you do right away. But for instance, real drafts. It's extra credit. Okay, here we go. Resume draft, March 6th. Okay, oops. Got to get rid of that date too. What have I done here? Okay, so see, available from today, well, yesterday basically, until the end of the semester. So I'm asking you to give it to me around here. But if, for instance, you wanted to get started on your resume now, you had some reason why you would want to do that, you can open the assignment now and you can access it. You can start loading files, whatever you want, and it'll stay open until the 26th. All of the assignments should pretty much be laid out that way so that, if there's an issue where you're running behind or running ahead, you're not blocked out or locked out, and you have access to whatever it is that you need. Just always remember the due date. The date that I really wanted is here, and a lot of times that helps me too. What I can't afford to have happen is have everybody decide to just give me all their homework assignments at the end of the semester, right? Because then I've got, I'm overwhelmed with grading. So, this helps me as well. This helps me stay on pace with the things that you're turning in and getting that graded, and then with my other classes and stuff as well. So stick to these as humanly possible. And if there's any real outstanding issue, please alert me to it as soon as you possibly can, so we can maybe make other arrangements for you. But that's kind of how I've laid out all the assignments. I think I've weeded it all out and made it like this now. It's possible that I may have missed one. If that's the case, just let me know. I'm going to put draft due. I'm going to change this really quick right before your very eyes and change it to, what did I say? March 6th. Okay. And reviews usually are due the following week. So that would be the 13th, right? Whoops. All right, we'll go down and save that. Web courses is such a joy to work with. I hope you never have to deal with it. Oh, see here, up the unlock date cannot be before the start date. That makes sense. Unlock date is here. Due date is here. What's the problem? For the course, before the start day. Just make it just make it the 11th then. There we go. How's that? Oh, you don't like that either? Okay, how about that? How about this? Oh, God. There we go. Okay. It took that. All right. Back to the modules. There's quite a number of modules. I'll go through through these with you today, I guess. We'll start with module 1 next week. So we'll actually be in week 2, we'll technically be on module 1. That's just how it kind of works out because of all of this preparatory stuff that's going on. Each week you'll have your assignments, you'll have your reading, you'll have if there's something for you to watch, like guest speaker, it'll be here. And then if you go to that page, it'll be loaded up with a video. You can watch it. It'll be from the fall. He gave a good talk. This guy actually didn't happen until November 18th. So I don't think there's a video in the week 3 module yet. But for instance, Janelle Jordan gave a great talk. She was only supposed to talk for 45 minutes. She talked with us for a little over 2 hours, and she's the local president of the Orlando, I think it's the Orlando Film Commission, and also she is a charter member of the Women in Film in Orlando. So it was great to have her come in and talk to the students and talk about those networking opportunities in those 2 organizations in Orlando. So you might find that conversation relevant, even though it took place 6 months ago at this point, or 5 months ago. And so it's laid out like so. I think we got a total of 12 modules, 13 modules. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, 13 with the final. So it feels like a really robust class. It's really not, shouldn't be hard for you to keep track of. And none of the assignments I don't think are particularly taxing. So like I said, give it a shot. If you have any questions, let me know. The course intro, I'm kind of doing that with you now. I have somewhere in here my own sort of bio and stuff if you want to check it out. It may be on the next page. Let's see. Course expectations and tips. You guys have seen all this before. I mean, you know how to get to UCFIT. If you don't, there's links in here on this page. If you're looking for the student handbook, the golden rule business, that's here and linkable. You can go to that as well. One of the things I don't think is spoken about too much in here are the current, here's a little bit about the current COVID policies. If you get sick, I mean, this is not going to be an issue with this class because we're online, but you guys know you're supposed to call the student health services, right? If you come in contact with an infected individual, or if you think that you're infected, so that you don't go to class with COVID-19 or whatever we're up to now. So there's a little blurb about that, links to the health services, links to UCF policies in terms of COVID. We're all online, so we're not going to have to worry about it in this particular class, but it's there anyway for you to take a look at. Important dates, okay? Oh, wow, I left Thanksgiving in there too. All right, I'll have to fix that for you as well. The only holiday I think we have this month is Martin Luther King Day. That's a Monday the 17th, I believe, which won't affect us. So I don't think we're going to fall under any holiday issues this semester. I think we're going to cruise right through. So given that, we'll move on here. What else do we have? So Zoom essentials. So this will be our live Zoom session meeting slot. Okay, it'll be Tuesdays starting at 3. I usually I had a fairly small but regular group last semester, and they usually had a lot of questions, and there was a lot of discussion that would happen after my initial sort of presentation or introduction, and we would a lot of times use up the entire 3-hour window. I don't know that I want to keep doing that though. I mean, I don't want to hold you hostage here for 3 hours on a Tuesday afternoon, right? So what I'm going to approach the Zoom sessions like there's going to be something that I'm going to want to offer to you, present to you, discuss with you. offer some opportunity for feedback, for questions and answers. And then we'll adjourn if there's no pressing business otherwise, so that you're not tied to this live session for 3 hours and then you have to do all the other coursework on top of that. If it warrants it, however, if we have a really good discussion going on and there's active participation and everybody's getting something out of it, I mean, I'll keep the window open for the whole 3 hours if we need it. But I don't want to exhaust this resource, and I want to make it such that, you know, you don't feel like it's a chore to come to the live Zoom session, you know, just like with my lectures. I don't want my lectures either to be something that you feel like, you know, you have to sit through and there's no other way. If it's not, you know, if it's not working and there's not a lot of lively interaction and Q&A and whatnot, we can adjourn. We can, you know, come back the following week with new topics of discussion, and you can just sort of follow along the course in web courses if you want. Okay, this thing will almost kind of run itself. I'm touching base with you to give you folks an opportunity, really an opportunity to access me. Okay, and the value in that is I've been there. I've done this. I lived the life that you're asking for 30 years before I turned to teaching. Okay, so I know what it's like to look for a job for a long time. I know what it's like to not know how to access a studio system and get a job. I know what it's like to work with crews where you don't know anybody. I know what it's like to need experience and be working for resume credits and have nothing on your resume to show for who you are as an individual when you're first starting out. I know all of those anxieties. I've been there. I've lived it. So if you have questions about stuff like that, if you have anxieties about stuff like that and you want to get it out in the open, and in doing so, I can address it with you and we can share it with the group so that there's, you know, there's a benefit beyond our interpersonal exchange, but that your colleagues and associates can also benefit from the questions that you're asking. I think that would be the most productive use of our time. But you guys tell me. And I'm also open to, you know, topics of concern that you might have extending outside of the parameters of the lesson plan, because the lesson plan is kind of, I mean, it's simplistic in nature. It's some very basic steps that you're going to take moving forward when you get out of college. And it's probably not going to address some of your specific specialized concerns. If that's the case and you want to get some feedback or get to the bottom of some of those questions in this forum, you can do that. I've worked in a number of departments in the film industry. I've been a member of the labor unions since I was very, very young. Okay, so I've been in the East Coast labor unions and the West Coast labor unions, and I'm not talking about Tampa West Coast. I'm talking about LA. Okay, I lived and worked in LA for 12 or more years. Okay, in the process of working all over the country and in certain parts around the world. So I've got those kinds of chops, and I can share that stuff with you if there's something that you can benefit from. Okay, so feel free to bring you know, your issues and your questions to this forum, and let's work them out, you know, before you get out of here, so that you have some ammunition for when you leave here. Okay. Unfortunately, Orlando, I don't know how many of you are from Orlando or plan on staying in the Orlando market after you graduate, but this market used to be a burgeoning film town with a lot going on, a lot of activity, and a lot of people that were making very good living working in that industry here in Orlando. But times have changed, and this market has grown very thin in its membership and in its reflection of the industry in contrast to what it used to be. So when you graduate and go out into the job market in Orlando now, I think it can be a fairly daunting place because there's not a lot for you to set your sights on. And you may find that moving to a larger production market when you get out of school might be beneficial for the you know the longevity of your career, or the launching of your career for that matter. So we can talk about stuff like that. I'd really kind of love it to be an extemporaneous conversation. You know, we can just sort of talk about stuff. If you come to class and you got a pressing issue or a question that you want to have answered, let's do it. Let's cover it here. Let's get it out in the open and discuss it. I'll give you my feedback. I'll give you, to the best of my ability, the benefit of my experience in those issues, and see if we can't arrive at a satisfactory answer for you, at least to get you through the short term, if not longer. So we'll meet every Tuesday at 3. We'll talk until we agree to adjourn, and that'll be our schedule. So all the links are already up. I'll have to go through and fix the 2:30 and make it 3 p.m. If you can just sort of ingrain that in your mind now, we'll be on good footing. 3 p.m. on Tuesdays. What else have I got for you here? Oh, here I am. So if you want to see my IMDb, I could bring it up for you now if you want. I put a link in here for you. But essentially, I'm too young to fully retire from 728 in Los Angeles. I'm only 55, and you can't technically retire until you're 65 out of the union, 67 if you're talking about federal Social Security. So I'm retired and I'm not collecting benefits. So I am retired. I am a retired member of 728. Also have been in longstanding a member of 477 out of Miami, both motion picture locals. My affiliation with the IA in Los Angeles was specific to set lighting. I was a chief lighting technician, so that meant I was a gaffer on motion pictures and television shows. I put a little bit on here about some of the stuff that I've worked on. But essentially it's up to something like 78 feature films and over 400 episodes of TV. So the resume is fairly extensive. There might be some stuff on there that you recognize, some shows like Pirates of the Caribbean or Too Fast and Too Furious, stuff like that. That's me. That's who I am. That's the world that I come from. I teach now. This is me with a beard, a full beard. I teach now for a couple of reasons. The first of which is the film industry is a young person's game, right? And 55 years old, it starts getting a little hard to keep the pace, which isn't particularly an issue with me personally. I mean, I work out every day and I take care of myself now. Not so much when I was your age, but now I'm cognizant of it. But I got hurt real bad. And I had a lot of surgeries and I had a lot of time to recuperate and do physical therapy and stuff. And in that time, on the advice of doctors and through my own sort of introspection, I decided that it might be time to hang up my tool belt, or in this case, my meter belt, and, start mentoring. Part of the oath that we take when we join a labor union, in my labor union out in Los Angeles, the set lighting local 728, it's right in my pledge of allegiance to the union that at some point in my career, I will turn to mentoring. Okay. Which I think is really, really important. Okay. No one gets in the industry on their own, and nobody is successful on their own. And you're always going to have somebody that's going to help you, mentor you, lend you a helping hand, loan you $100, whatever it is. Okay. And in that sense, you're on the receiving end of a lot of goodwill if you're in the industry with good people and you're making good connections. And so there's an obligation for you to in some sense pay that good fortune back when the time comes, right? So the idea with my own local and the commitment to mentorship is, look, when you were a young man and you didn't know any better and you didn't have any trade affiliations and you didn't have a technical education, we took you in, we negotiated on your behalf in good faith, we mentored you, we taught you a trade, we unleashed you on the industry, and you've made a good living doing it for a number of years. And now, in the twilight of your career, as the union is revitalized by new people coming in every year, At some point, you need to extend your hand to them, teach them the ropes, get them set up on the proper track and moving forward to their successful career. And this is part of the obligation of accepting membership in a trade union in Los Angeles. So that's what found me in the role of teacher now. What I am not is a stuffy academic. Okay. I have an MFA in screenwriting. I have, my undergraduate degree in writing and rhetoric. I do have letters, right? But first and foremost, I worked in the industry as a technician. I worked in the industry as a young man. I got in very early. And I worked for a very long time. And my sense of identity is linked to those experiences more so than my academic identity that I have now. Okay, so what I don't want to be is the person who stands or sits in front of you every week for 3 hours and pontificates about lofty ideas. Okay, that's not what I'm about. That's not what this situation is about. And I'm pretty sure that you've probably had your fill of that already, given that you're all seniors and eminently graduating. So think about me more in that mentor role. Where I'm a sounding board for you. I'm somebody that can give you some advice, and that you can come to me with your issues and feel secure in how you're going to be treated. Okay, that's really important to me. That's because that's kind of my MO. Um, I've bled over this ground, guys, and you're going to do the same thing in your own time. All right, and there's no point in doing it. Um, in the dark, or with one hand tied behind your back or with one eye closed, right? If I can help you, please let me, and maybe we can smooth your transition. Oh, here's the technical support links right here. So UCFIT, you guys know this. Web Courses wigs out a lot every once in a while. It takes a bender and we got to go in and reboot or do something weird. If you have any experience, any problems like that, these are the links that you might want to have handy. So they're right in here for you. What else did I put in here for you? General discussion board. I put this in all of my classes so that I know that you guys have forums outside of class, like Discord and Facebook and stuff. And that's all fine. But I don't proctor any of those. I don't monitor any of that stuff. I don't curate any of it, although I do curate the Discord server for this class. But beyond that, I put the general discussion board up here for you guys to use. It's your forum, and I kind of don't monitor this. It's kind of for you. It's a safe place for you guys to talk, share ideas. If you work on a really cool gig and you want to share it with your classmates or whatever, you can post on this page. You can do stuff like that. And the discussions are open. They're likable. They're commentable. And I don't really go on here much unless I'm asked to, because I want that to be for you all. So it's here for you if you want it or need it. Let's see. Oh, I buried it over here. There we go. Next. Okay, so module 0 starts here. The goals for the semester: refine your vision of yourself, learn everything you can about the current trends, get to know your classmates. That's the gist of it. Okay. Each week, we're going to log into web courses. You're going to check out the lesson plan, find out what your TBDs are, to be dones. Look over the module contents. There's a lot of information in the module contents, okay, which kind of is why we don't really have a required textbook, because anything you really need to know is already going to be embedded in web courses for you. You just have to read it there. And then you're going to log into Zoom. I got to change that date too. And then we will, correspond through email, through Zoom sessions. If there's a discussion, please be respectful. Please respond to at least 2 of your classmates. Otherwise, it's not a discussion. And that's really about it. There's really very few ground rules here concerning how we're going to conduct this class. So that's pretty much it for this module. Here we are today. here's an example of the pre-recorded session from last semester. So you can see how I've embedded the discussion here. And you can go and you can click on it. It'll take you to YouTube. I have a page on YouTube with a lot of videos on from all my different classes, covering topics from all those different classes. So yours are always going to be FIL4434. So you'll see that on YouTube somewhere in the description for the video. This is a direct link though to last semester's first class video, so you could watch it if you wanted to. And then I'll put today's link probably right here next to it. So you'll have last month or last semester and this semester to look at if you want to. Or what some people like to do is go back and look at them again towards the end of the semester before we before we have final exit surveys and stuff. Which reminds me, so your final or your financial aid assignment is an entrance survey to this class, which you got to turn in by Friday. Okay. It's a few simple questions. You can't study for it. It's not that kind of quiz. It's simply a quiz that will get a sense of where you are right now as a student in the program and where your head is at in terms of your anticipation for what you're going to do when you get out of here. A few simple questions. And then at the end of the semester, instead of a final exam, we're just going to have an exit survey. And then the exit survey will be very similar questions. And the idea is we'll contrast your entrance survey answers to your exit survey answers to get a sense of, whether or not this course and this program has been effective for you as a film student. Okay, so don't forget about your entrance survey due Friday. It'll be in web courses. If I can show you the modules, I'll show you where it's buried. Entrance survey right here. See, due January 14th. Okay, so this is your financial aid thing for the week. Got to get it done by Friday. That's their deadline, so you'll get your financial aid payments on time. Okay, enough of that public service announcement. Let's see if I've got another page for you to look at here. Here's the survey. Okay, 10 points, 10 questions. You get 30 minutes to do it. If it takes you 30 minutes, there's probably something very wrong. And you notice that I have until the 21st. Technically, you could turn it in late. But if you do that, you run the risk of having your financial aid stuff start late as well. So if you can get it done by Friday, that would be ideal. Okay. What else? Okay, so this is coming up for you. There's an IndieWire article. There's links to it here. Read the article, and then there's a discussion activity around the article. So you're going to read the article. How do you feel about it? Post it in the discussion, and then comment with your colleagues on the content of the article. Okay, so this is like your first assignment coming up after the financial aid assignment. It's pretty simple. It's not a difficult article, actually. What do you need to know to make it in the industry? Like, oh, is that all it took? Was an article in IndieWire? But read it, see what you think about it. You might find some things in it helpful. We can talk about it in this class if you want to as well. All right, so getting ready for module 1. It's basically, I just told you basically what it is. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Module 1, which is technically next week, will start here. Okay, and then this is what we're doing, what we're up to. This is a really dense course. There's a lot of text on a lot of the pages and web courses. If you spot something that seems out of the ordinary, it's probably because I missed it in terms of details and just didn't get a chance to edit it quickly enough before the semester started. You may not find it a surprise at all to know that UCF does not compensate the instructors for prep for any of these classes. They just sort of expect us to pop up on January 10th or whatever that first Monday is, ready to go, wheels down and ready to roll, right? And that's just not it's not a sustainable model in terms of being ready for an entire semester without any lead time. So that's why there's going to be things like typos and little changes that have to be adjusted here and there. If you got any questions, just shoot me an email and let me know what's up, and I'll answer your questions as quickly and as succinctly as I can. Okay. I think that's pretty much it for the introduction to the course on web courses itself. Let me pop back over here. So the schedule, so you can see the first week, it's a lot of intro, and it's the IndieWire articles. In 2 weeks, we'll be talking about best practices, best professional practices, and so forth. There's a couple of videos for you to check out. We'll move into resume building, and then reel building. And the reel exercise, our EEL, is going to start off as an extra credit assignment for anybody who wants to do this assignment and submit it. It will end up being, in some degree, an assignment in that will ask for critique from other students on your reel, and that is something that you will get credit for. So reels and resumes are here, like week 4, 3 or 4. We'll have critique of work that's done. So if you submit a reel for an assignment, the following week, more than likely, there's going to be a critique assignment. So you're going to be offering your feedback to the individuals who have submitted, and you'll get credit for that feedback. Okay. Discussion posts will work the same way. So there'll be a discussion post due, an initial post, we call it, and then shortly thereafter will be another due date for feedback. Okay. And that's going to be the routine around here. So professional development, that's all about networking. Module 5, funding models, we'll talk about grants and project funding, things of that nature. What else? We got film festivals is week 7. There's this spring break in here for a week, March 6th to the 13th. The midterm project is basically a report. It's like a keynote presentation done by a group. And there's a list of topics that you can do a little bit of research on, and then do a little presentation, six to 8 slide presentation as a group. That's your midterm project. Very simple, very easy, not real difficult. The research that you do, you'll find beneficial because it'll be helpful to you in some way. You can research film festivals, either domestic or international. There's a lot of different topics that you can look into, and the information that you uncover might help you specifically with something that you're concerned with moving forward. So it's a good project for that. Not real hard. We'll talk about unions and working freelance in week 12. What else? We'll talk about the Florida film industry specifically, week 13. I have an open week here in week 14. Sometimes the schedule will slip and slide a little bit. Maybe we'll have a weather day off or something like that needs to happen. And then week 14 will get filled with whatever was scheduled for the week prior. Or we can treat it as an open week, and we can handle something that we haven't looked into during the course of the semester. We'll see how it goes and see how we want to deal with that slot. But for now, it's kind of open. The last speaker will come in probably around mid-April if I can bring somebody in. If not, the last speaker I had last semester was Christopher Odom, and he was talking about building websites, mostly building websites for your own self-promotion. So as a content producer himself, he has a couple of different websites, and the idea was to talk to you about designing your own website. For instance, if you want to be a screenwriter or a novelist, you might want to have a website with samples of your work that people can access, and you can use that as a calling card. And you can put that, you can highlight that in places like on your resume. You can post it on things like a business card. And folks can do a little bit of their own research if they want to learn or know about you. It's kind of like the way my IMDb works, right? If I have a cursory conversation with somebody about a job, for instance. Let's say I'm at a cocktail party and somebody's, I'm talking to a producer and they say, hey, I got a film coming up. I understand you're a cinematographer or a chief lighting technician. I'd be interested in seeing your reel or see the kind of work that you've done. You've come recommended by friends, and so I wanted to give you a shot at a conversation. And I'll say that's great. I'm really interested in talking with you about that. If you want, you can go to my IMDb and you can look at my online resume as far as that goes and see the types of projects that I've worked on. And if that whets your appetite, I'd love to have a conversation with you about your specific project. And so I use IMDb in that way as a calling card, and so you can do that yourself. You can design your own websites. I have two websites in addition to IMDb that I use in the same fashion. So one of them is kind of an all-purpose website that's me. You want to know what I'm up to, what I'm doing. There's that website. And then if you just want to look at me in terms of the writing that I do, I have a writing specific website. Okay. And you can go to that website and you can look at samples of my written work. Okay. And so that was what Chris's discussion was all about. So that is embedded in web courses right now. If you want to go to where did I put a week 14, week 15 and look at the pre-recorded Zoom session with Chris, you can check out that conversation. It was pretty meaty as well. I think he stuck around for about a good two and a half hours that day. And there's links to his work and stuff, so you can check that conversation out. That'll wrap up the semester for us. We'll be heading into exit survey time around just around the end of April. I think we're out of here on April 26th-ish, something like that. So I think the time's going to pass pretty quickly. That's kind of this class in a nutshell. I mean, I don't know if any of you are feeling like you've got some questions immediately that you want to address. I think it's pretty straightforward, and we'll approach it that way, and we'll deal with issues as we encounter them. Does anybody have any questions or concerns or observations out of the gate? No? Well, that's a good sign. Know that I'm available to you. You can pretty much email me anytime you want. I mean, I try to maintain office hours for at least an hour or two before each of my classes are scheduled to fire off. So since we're coming to live sessions on Tuesday, I think what that means for you guys is if you needed to access me prior to the Zoom meeting, you'd have a really good chance of catching me between 1 and 3. Just shoot me an email. You can do it through, the people page on web courses, or you can send it directly to my email, which is here, michael.walsh@ucf.edu, and reach out. And we can do it through email. We can have a personal Zoom session, just the two of us, if you want, and talk about your issue. If it's something you don't want to share in the open forum, like we're doing now, we can do it in a private Zoom session. So you have a good shot of reaching me on Tuesdays from 1 to 3. But you can send me an email anytime you want, and I'll answer you as quickly as I can. Okay, I don't like to let stuff like that linger for too long, especially if it's time sensitive. So know that you can reach me certainly through email anytime you need to, and then office hours, pretty much think about it as Tuesday. Okay. I do have now a physical office location in the Nicholson building. So if you're on campus and you want to come and see me face to face, you might catch me in NSC 245. That's upstairs near, it's kind of in between the two elevators, actually. 245 is on the west side of the building. The hallway is going to split in two and go around a central meeting room, and I'm on the left-hand side of the fork in the roads if you're coming up the main elevator. So 245 is my physical address. Okay, you can catch me in there quite often. Right now, in the beginning of the semester, they haven't told us that we're off of virtual office hours yet. I haven't heard anything about that yet. So, at least for the time being, our office hours are virtual. But at some point in the semester, you'll find me in 245 quite a bit, especially before class. Okay, so there's that option for you as well. Here's the link to the Discord server. Let me see if I can get that to come up right now here. Open link in new tab. Okay, so you'll get to here, Capstone UCF, username, what should I call you? Professor Walsh. I should already be in there, but I am a human, yes. Username, it might be looking for me already. Start verification. Uh-oh, I screwed it up already. Oh, well. Anyway, this is it. Follow the prompts when you get to it. I'm already in there. I don't know why it doesn't recognize me. It might have reset over the holiday for some reason. But that's the Discord. We are doing that. Set yourself up with an account for that. And then it's a running conversation. It's supposed to stay open. Last semester, I had people that had graduated, a couple, 2, 3 semesters that were still checking in and commenting on stuff. So it's supposed to continue scrolling. So I got to look into that and find out why that's blocking me out. But we'll use that casually. This is not mandatory. It's not required in any way. It's just another resource there for you. I think that's it. I think I pretty well covered it. Any questions on any of that? Pretty straightforward, right? I would love to hear about you folks, figure out who you are and what you got going on. If anybody is amenable to offering an introduction to the group, I would love to find out, for instance, what courses were you taking? What's your focus? What are your career aspirations and so forth? So I can get a sense of, who you are and what you got going on. Anybody want to step forward and introduce yourself? No?
I'll talk if nobody's gonna talk.
Okay. Thank you, Hannah.
No problem. My name's Hannah. Obviously, I'm a senior at UCF. Right now, I've been doing a lot of first AD work, and I think I'm gonna ride that for a little bit and then maybe go into producing after that. So
Okay.
that's my goal. I'm probably gonna go to Atlanta. I think that's the market I want to start in.
I think that would be wise. Last semester, I think it was week 10 or 11. And the video will be embedded for you. I had a local DJA assistant director come in and talk to the students. So you would be looking for a link called Gerald Wu. Okay, Gerald Wu is DJA. I think he's a card carrying second AD, or he might be a first AD now. In the commercial industrial side of the DGA. Okay, so the DGA kind of divides their cards by feature films, television, and commercial industrials, right? So that they can kind of keep everybody working who has a specialization, right, and keep people from kind of crossing over and so forth. So Gerald has a commercial card in the Florida region. The DGA used to let you pick 2 regions, 2 home regions. So I think his other home region might be New York, which is the market that he came from. But there is a pre-recorded session with Gerald talking about the DGA and how to get in it and what, the life of a second and first assistant director are on a union shoot and so forth. I also quizzed him a little bit on the DGA training program, which is an excellent way for you to access a career in the DGA and have them initiate it for you by selecting you as a candidate out of a body of submissions. I think they take applications every year, and they'll pick a small number of those applicants and initiate them into the DGA as a second assistant director, and you get placed on jobs, and they give you a sampling of all the different types of work that you would do in the industry: commercials, music videos, low budget television, large budget television, features, and you get a sampling of all that. They place you with people, and the idea is you're on that job to learn that format of production. And then at the end of your year or two that you do this, you have now a body of work that's legitimate on a resume. You have all that experience at different levels of the industry, and you are employable as a DGA second assistant director. And what you'd find is, well, that's a highly selective career path. It's very difficult to earn selection and then to see it through to its completion, because it's very rigorous. It helps you leapfrog a whole lot of anxiety and a whole lot of trial and error and early, beginnings of your career, where you spend more time on the unemployment roll than you do on the crew roster, and it puts you to work right away. I'm a big advocate of trade unionism and union membership, because the unions are big entities representing an entire community of filmmakers, okay, which is a very powerful ally to have in your corner. And it's very comforting, I think, to know that while you're in your, whether you're just starting out in your career or whether your career is underway and you just need that extra little bit of help once in a while, it's good to know that there is a fraternity of people behind you that will help you, mentor you, help you find work, help you with your health and welfare benefits, help you with your pension planning, bargain for you when there's a contract on a show that you're trying to get on, all those different things. The voices of many is far more effective than the voice of one person in the industry working alone. And for that reason, I'm a big fan of trade unionism. Okay. And then, of course, there's added benefits. If you're just starting out in the industry and you're what we would call an apprentice, or you're young in the business, 1 or 2 years maybe, and you don't know all the ins and outs yet. You don't know all the nuances of the industry, or you haven't seen all of the contingencies yet in terms of what can happen on a job and so forth. It's nice to know that if you're not working alongside quote unquote old timers, right, that you have access to them through your union affiliation, and that they're there and they're on your team, they're in your corner. So a lot of times you'll hear me talk about unionism and stuff, and I will say it's a good idea for you to be involved in that as early as possible. You don't have to, obviously. You don't have to join a trade union. There's no rule that says you got to do that. Understand the industry is kind of structured and geared to that end, because it helps clerically and it helps logistically to have the sort of stratification that the union affords the industry in terms of job classifications and rates and rules about employment conditions and so forth, and things can be standardized in a lot of those ways. It helps to eliminate corruption, bad practices, exploitation. The unions are there to protect you, for instance, if you don't get paid. They're there to protect you and provide for you if you get hurt on the job and you're having trouble getting your insurance coverages and stuff through the production company. The union is there to make sure that you get paid what you're worth based on fair market value, not on a figure that a low budget producer pulls out of their butt and decides that's what they want to pay you for doing that job on that particular movie. It doesn't work that way in the real world. In the real world, if you are, for instance, a DJA second assistant director, that job classification has value, transactional value. You don't offer a guy like that $100 a day, or a girl for that matter. You offer them whatever the rate card says that a union second AD makes on a movie of the size in which your budget reflects. Okay. And that's it, right? And the unions will make sure that those producers don't try to lowball you or screw you on your benefits in some way. A lot of companies will try to hire you on a flat rate, and then they'll try not to give you health and welfare benefits, for instance. And those types of things can't happen on union contracted jobs. So the unions are out there to make sure that your workplace is safe, that it's lucrative, and that it's watchdogged in a way that keeps people honest and removes the temptation for somebody to try and manipulate you or cheat you in some way to their advantage and to your disadvantage because you're new or young or inexperienced. Okay. So for all of those reasons, I'm an advocate for belonging to a trade union. Okay. And I would never tell you that you have to do that or have to subscribe to that ideology. When I was your age, I wasn't really sure that it mattered to me in truth to be a part of the unions or not, and I wasn't for the first, I don't know, 4 to 6 years of my career. I think I didn't have any union affiliation, and you work on a lot of low budget stuff, and one job you're making $150 a day, and the next job you're making $250 a day, and you're doing the same work but different employers, and each one of them has a different idea about how much they want to pay you, and so you have to negotiate those treacherous waters. Once you join the union, it's straight down the line. They say this person's worth this much money that a day. You sign a contract with us, that's what you're going to pay them. Otherwise, you're not getting a fill in the blank, second AD, assistant cameraman, whatever it is, grip. Okay. So you'll hear me preach up the unions a lot in this class. It's also great because, hey, when I was, I got into the business when I was, I don't know, in the very beginning, I was like 17. Okay. I didn't start really working on really meaty stuff until I was like 22, maybe. And folks, you're not going to convince a 22-year-old healthy young man in the US of A that he's got to think about someday when he retires and his health and all of that. It's like, no way, man. You don't know me. I've been partying my ass off. I dropped out of college so I could work hard and party hard. I don't need any of that kind of advice, right? Well, that's good for a little while, but in the long term, it's a bad business strategy to be that naive, right? And one of the things that the union will help you with, for instance, every time you work on a job on a union contract, a little bit of money gets put away for you in a retirement plan, like a 401k kind of deal, right? Because I wasn't going to save that money on my own. There was drinking to do, and there was partying to do, and there was stuff that required every bit of money that I made. And so putting stuff away in a 401k was not going to happen for this guy at age 22, right? But the union said, you'll regret that course of action one of these days, kid. So we're going to help you and do this thing for you, and every job you work on, a little bit goes in there, and you're not even going to see it. You're not going to get to touch it till you're 65 years old. So don't even worry about it, but it'll be there for you because you came to us, right? So that was one of the things and then of course, when I got hurt, man, the union coverage, especially out in California, nothing better than that, man. The IATSE has their own hospitals and doctors out in California, and they brought me in and they did my knee, rebuilt my knee in like a day, and I was out of there in a day. Right? They didn't rebuild it. They just went in and they cleaned it out real good and trimmed out all the damage and cut away some of the bad stuff, But the point is they took really good care of me, right? And so that's another reason why I like classes like this, so I can make these things, make you guys aware of stuff like this. All right. This is a job. But it's more than a job. It really is a career. Okay. In that you're going to have lots of different jobs in your lifetime, but they're all going to basically relate somehow one to another in what you're doing and how you're approaching your, earning a living and so forth. And there are systems in place that will make it feel like a career for you and not a series of disparate and unrelated job experiences. Okay. In the context of time and looking back over your career, you'll see how it all kind of blended together into sort of one basic description of you as an earner in an industry where you made films and television shows for a living. Okay. So it's a really great career. I enjoyed it for a number of years, did very well with it. And I would love to, assist you in any way that I can to access that same kind of experience for yourselves. Okay. So having said that, I mean, I've kind of run out of bullets for today. If there's no issues that we want to bring to the table, then I will offer up the opportunity to adjourn for the day. So you guys tell me any questions on anything now. Anybody else want to offer up a little bit about themselves before we transition out of here? Anyone at all? I
I
see some
will.
familiar faces. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Mary Reed, or just Reed is fine as well. I'm a writer. I have been really interested in TV writing recently. I've been a teacher and since I was like 16, and I still work with kids now. And so I think it would be really cool to work on educational programming or family oriented programming with an emphasis on healthy and more expanded representation for all kinds of people that might be watching.
That's terrific. Remind me, last semester, I have a friend out in California. Her name is Betty Goldberg, and she is a retired DGA and WGA member. So member of the Directors Guild and member of the Writers Guild of America. She's written a number of scripts, mostly television scripts, but she just completed the text for a children's book, which is currently in illustration right now. And so it's getting set to be published. And if I can get her to come on Zoom and talk to you folks, I will do that. I tried to get her to come out last semester and I lost track of her for a while. And then I ran out of space on my guest speaker schedule, but I'll see if I can get Betty out here to talk to you folks about stuff like that, writing from film and television and directing. She was directing episodes of a TV series called The White Shadow, which is like high school basketball coach kind of thing, kids struggling with young adulthood and issues like that, social issues. And it was that kind of TV show. Late 70s, I guess, was the heyday of that particular TV show. And she was a woman in Hollywood directing TV in that time frame, which is a hell of an accomplishment, considering the boys club that the industry has been over the years. To have a woman reach that level of success in that area of the industry was pretty remarkable. So you might enjoy a conversation with Betty if I can get her out here. She's really enjoying her retirement right now, though. I spoke to her on the phone last week and tried to coax her out of retirement for a special project I had going on, and she politely declined. But she's enjoying being retired and writing this children's book, and she's currently penning a new screenplay. So she's still active and doing things. And I think that she's a pretty interesting conversationalist. So I'll see if I can get her out here. Anybody else? Anybody else want to offer anything up a little bit about what you got going on, or what do you want to do when you get out of here? There's a good question for you.
What do I want to do when I get out of here?
Yeah.
I back home where I live in Fort Myers, my dad has a big shop, and I've been like over the break, I've been like liquidating it. Like there was a lot of like old chemicals and stuff because my dad ran like a shop out there, and I want to convert part of it into like a Foley studio or some kind of like recording studio, like sound deaden at least a part of it, and then just put it all together in some way.
That's terrific.
Yeah, because
Fort
I'm
Myers.
yeah, in Fort Myers.
That's okay. I did a small
I mean,
move.
it's just where I'm from. I thought about it as like a project I could do, or just like build a little like loft or area in there. Put it all
Hey
together.
man, absolutely. And you're talking about Foley work and stuff, studio work. And you know, a lot of that can be done over the wire now. You know, you don't have to be situated in, it's funny if you, I mean, I've done a lot of work at Sony Studios out in Los Angeles, and some of the old bungalows along the back side of the property behind the sound stages and along Washington, I think it's Washington Street. All the old bungalows were like the old sound post-production offices, and vendors were located, and they used to be there on the lot, you know, and the producers had their office buildings, and they could come down out of their ivory tower, they could walk over to the sound stage and see how shooting was going, and then they could hop over to, you know, the side street where the bungalows were, and they could look in on audio post and things like that. But that was the old world, right? That was the once upon a time when the studios were a really big, powerful economic unit. But now, I mean, I was telling somebody yesterday, there are post-production render farms for CGI and special effects located in St. Louis, you know. I mean, St. Louis is not known as a production town. It's not even on the radar of production, primary, secondary, or even tertiary market. It's just not. And yet, there's a really big company there that just takes in files and renders them for processing, and then sends them back to the studios for CGI and effects and things on major feature films. So that kind of stuff is happening everywhere now. I don't see any reason why you couldn't pull it off in Fort Myers. The hard thing would be to get your initial client list. You'd have to do some networking, and for that you might have to do a little traveling and working in other markets until you can make a name for yourself as a technician, and then base yourself wherever you want, wherever you have the facilities to do your work. I don't see any reason why Fort Myers wouldn't work out for you.
I don't know, I just want the facilities to do work somewhere. So
Yeah, I mean, and then FTP, or, you know, Dropbox your finished files to your clients. There's no reason why you can't do that. And there's a huge market in Miami, like commercials and feature films, foreign productions and stuff like that. And Fort Myers is just right on the other end of Alligator Alley, isn't it? From Miami.
sort of. Yeah, it's
More or
like 2
less.
hours, 2 or
Yeah.
so hours. Yeah,
That's not bad. Nice place, Fort Myers.
it's quiet.
Yeah, quiet's good. Anybody else? What's going on out there? Who's this? How about what do we got here? Matt, Casey, anybody in there? Juliana's a former student of mine. What's going on with you folks? They're probably not listening. Their tiles up, but they're not there.
Or do I just say something about myself?
Sure, go ahead. Offer it up, man.
Well, after I get out, I think I just want to do some PA work on whatever sets I can get and kind of work my way up in Orlando. And then I eventually want to move out to Atlanta. Instead of like moving out to Atlanta and going straight into PA work, kind of like go up the totem pole in Orlando and then move out there.
Not much of a totem pole here anymore, but so you might be looking for work at places like Adrenaline, maybe.
Oh yeah, I was an intern there.
Okay,
So
good.
they told me after I graduate, I could do some work for them. So
Okay, that's great. Yeah, you know, I mean, if you can get some local work for a while after you graduate and save a little money, because you're going to need a little bit of a bankroll if you go up to Atlanta, you know. Atlanta's, you know, really where you're going to break it open, though, because they have lots of different levels of production now in that town, and it's very accessible to Orlando. A lot easier than, for instance, when folks were running all the way to New Orleans or Austin, Texas, or all the way out to LA. If you can do it in stages, it's easier economically. It's also easier psychologically. I didn't go to LA until I was 37. I mean, they were coming here for a lot of stuff for a long time. It's like Central Florida was very popular for rockets and beaches at one point in the industry. I mean, every movie and TV show wanted a little bit of that. So folks were coming out here all the time to do, you know, portions of this and portions of that. And so I got a lot of that experience early on from those folks coming here, but then eventually it made sense to move out there for access to better jobs and better paying jobs and more responsibility and so forth. So doing it in stages is a really good idea. If I was, say, the first time I thought about moving to LA was 1990, after I did My Girl here in Orlando. And I would have been at that point, I think I was maybe 25, something like that, 24. Who knows what would have happened to me if I'd have moved to LA at 24. I mean, I was a little bit of a hellraiser. So I stayed here and I worked in this market for a while. Then I worked around the country for a while. And then I moved to the big market. And in each phase of my development, I earned a little bit more money. I got a little bit smarter, a little bit more experience, a little bit better resume. And then you kind of jump, in stages and work your way up until you get better and better opportunities. So starting here in Orlando there's nothing wrong with that. It's a perfectly sensible approach to the problem of getting hired. Save your money, be careful, don't get too comfortable, and always, keep your eye on your objective, which is to move to Atlanta and get those better opportunities. You won't get feature film opportunities and TV series opportunities here in Orlando. That stuff doesn't happen here anymore. Okay, so anything you get from Adrenaline is going to be commercial work. It's going to be industrial work, stuff like that. You may once in a while get to work on a portion of something that comes in for a week or so. But the real work is going to start for you in Atlanta. So that should stay on your radar, and don't lose sight of that objective. Because it's a good one, and I think it's a good idea. I think you can be very successful if you expedite that plan. So you got your head in the right place. That's all good stuff. I'm glad to hear that you already interned for them. So you already got, you're familiar to them. You got your foot in the door already. So that little bit of ice breaking has already taken place. So that's good. Real good.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Do you still want me to go?
Sure.
All right, my bad. I was trying to multitask.
It's all right.
I mean, I mostly want to do directing and writing. That's my biggest thing. But for now, I'm just trying to save up a little and then hopefully move to Atlanta. Like maybe in 2 years. I'm still going to grad school for my master's, so I'm waiting for that.
Okay, great.
And then after a while, save up a little more, maybe go out to LA. That's my biggest plan right now.
Awesome. Yeah, leapfrog it. From Atlanta to LA. What's your are you going to take your master's degree at UCF?
Yeah, I save a lot of money if I do it here. So I was planning staying here for an extra year, maybe 2. In the meantime, save up with my job and stuff.
Well, the UCF masters, I think, are you going for the film production masters?
No, I am actually I'm getting it in accounting, so I could also be a producer.
Perfect. All right. That's a really great idea. I wish more film students would think that way, because it really is a business, film business, right? It's great to have, film degrees and stuff like that, but in the final analysis, I mean, you want to have skills that will enhance what you understand about filmmaking, and then backstop you in the event that your filmmaking career stalls or stagnates or fails altogether. You want to have something to fall back on. But accounting, a good accountant, if you work in the film industry, a good accountant is worth their weight in gold, because they're going to save you a lot of money on the taxes that you pay on your very lucrative paychecks, okay, especially on union jobs. So accounting and knowing the ins and outs of what your tax liabilities are and what your investment strategies can be is really important. So I think that's a terrific idea that you're doing that. You're thinking outside the box, which is very good. So best of luck to you in that regard.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Carlos, what's up?
Not much. Well, I say not much, but all February I have back-to-back shoots. So
Yeah?
I'm mostly focusing on production. Ultimately, when I end up to cinematographer, and then maybe dabble a little into directing, but mostly focusing on cinematography. But in my personal philosophy, like I'm taking like somewhat like the long way around. So I started working. I'm diving really deep into like lighting right now, and then
Yeah.
instead of going to like AC work and then going to like cinematographer, I'm diving like into gaffing. I just finished this summer gaffing my first feature film, so that was exciting. Um, and then the upcoming shoots that I have, I'm also gaffing as well. So that's like the long road that I'm taking. And
That's
then
great.
ultimately, I applied for the MFA here, UCF. If I get it, then all right, I'll take it. I'll do it. If not, I'm looking to go to Atlanta and get started working over there.
You know,
But
we
yeah.
have a couple of folks that graduated a couple of years ago from the film program that are working up in Atlanta now, card carrying lighting technicians. Talk to the folks in the equipment room down in, I think it's 157.
Yeah, I talk
Uh,
to them all the time.
Ask them about
I'm
Michael
just there all the time.
Collins. Ask them about Mike Collins. Um, and he had a girlfriend. They got married. She was a producer type when she was in school here at UCF, and she's now a working production coordinator in Atlanta. And Michael is a working rigging gaffer in Atlanta now, and he's only, I think, 3 or 4 years out of graduating from UCF, and he's already, been that successful up there in Atlanta. Um, if you want to get into set lighting, I mean, I did set lighting the longest of my career of all the departments I worked in. And it was the last department I was in before I transitioned into cinematographer. So the lighting path is a good one. It's the one that I took, and I'm glad that I did because it afforded me lots of opportunities. But what I can tell you right now, and I probably get in a lot of trouble for saying this, you don't need an MFA to work on a lighting crew anywhere.
No, I know. It's mostly
So
again, it's like I have some interest in dabbing into like directing, not as much as cinematography, but
I'll tell
it's
you
like
what,
I
and I'm
just applied and see if I get in, then I'll do it. If not, then it's okay.
sure. But I'm going to be dead honest with you. I mean, if you want to learn how to be a director, the best place to learn how to be a director is on a movie set somewhere, watching a real working director go about practicing their craft.
No, I
Okay?
agree. I agree
Sitting in a
100%.
classroom, hearing about somebody talk about it who may or may not have ever done it in their own lifetime is one experience you can have, or you can just work alongside somebody that's doing it for a living and making a paycheck. Because that, being a fly on the wall in that room, is an education all in and of itself. You want to direct, you're not going to do it right out of the gate anyway. You're going to do it 10, 12, 15 years into your career when you have the connections and the wherewithal and the experience to know what that job entails and what's going to be required of you. You're not going to do that right out of the gate. So how are you going to learn how to do that otherwise? Watching other directors do it. And being on set is the best place for you at that point in time. And you'll learn from the best. Okay. And then when it comes your time, you'll have been making a good paycheck along the way. You're saving your money here and there. And then when you want to do your own project, you're going to have a wealth of experience to draw from and a lot of really great mentors, both voluntary and involuntary, that have taught you what will be required. Okay. So I wouldn't worry about it. That stuff's going to work itself out. The most important thing for you to do is get your butt out there, get working, and get experience, and pay attention when you have the opportunity to work around those people
Yeah.
and learn from them. That's the best education you can give yourself. If you like lighting and you're already doing it now, get out there and do it.
We'll do.
These opportunities offer themselves only every so often. For some people, it comes around once and never again, right? So if it's working and you've got a little momentum, take advantage of that. Graduate and get your butt up to Atlanta and start working. Ask them about Mike. Tell him you need a job. You're an alum of UCF. You're your brother of the cloth, so to speak, and you need a job. And there's a lot of crews up there right now that are begging for help in those types of areas, lighting and grip. Okay, because it's labor, right? It's heavy lifting, it's weird hours, it's working in the rain whether you want to or not. It's a lot of loading and unloading of trucks and moving big heavy equipment around because there's nothing. They call them lights in the in the industry, and I don't know why, because none of them are light at all. They're all heavy.
Yeah.
right? But setting all that stuff up all the time, you know, a working shooting crew can't set up the scale and scope of a lot of the sets that we work on. So we'll have crews that their only job is to set stuff up for a shooting crew and then tear it down when they're done. They call them riggers, okay? And riggers can make an excellent living and have a really comfortable work schedule and lifestyle as a result of working what we call off production. Okay, and then the shooting crew are the ones that are there all night long, whether they want to be or not, for 15 hours a day if necessary. But they walk in and they flip the switches and they start shooting because the rigging crew made that possible for them. All right, and there's a lot of that kind of work in Atlanta and in Los Angeles, and you can make a hell of a good living doing it. So if you're at all leaning that way, I would say do it quick, get yourself established. Okay, the weird thing about the industry now, and I'm still wrapping my head around it and trying to figure out so I can make accurate predictions of what's up. You know, when I was your age and I was embarking on my career, a little bit younger actually, because I dropped out of college the first time. You know, the industry was a hard place to find. You didn't know who was in it or where it was happening, right? Now it seems to be in a lot of places and there's a little bit more access. But back then you could also, if you could establish yourself and do well and make a name for yourself, you could expect to have a career that was 20 or 30 years long. Right now, I'm not sure that 20 or 30 years is something that you folks have to look forward to. A career for you might now be 5 or 10 years, and then you'll be on to something else at the end of that time. So I would get in it and get on it as soon as you possibly can so that you can improve the possibilities that your career can last you longer than 5 years. The way things are changing and progressing so quickly, and with the power of computers and virtual reality, I'm not sure how much longer we're going to need to do tentpole productions where we build enormous sets and we do things in reality in camera like that, and we're not just drawing it on a computer. And if that's the case, a lot of that work is going to go to a whole different subset of people who won't have your skills and abilities and you won't have theirs, but suddenly their resources and their capabilities are going to be the preferred mode of operation. And it's going to put a lot of folks out of work looking for a different kind of job. So I'd say if you can get in the industry now, it's a good moment to do that while things are still fluid and we still have a lot of the old paradigm at work for us, providing a stable work environment and the ability for you to see 5 years down the road in terms of what your career is going to look like. Get in it now and get established as soon as you can. Anybody else? That's good, Carlos. Anyone else? Talk about what you got going on, where you're going, what you're looking at. We'll do this more. I'll try to do this with you all every week and make it around the room as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Yeah, I'm Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Cool. I really wanted to do something in the theme park industry with editing and post-production on a lot of the media-based attractions that are coming around these days. I know a lot of that's done in-house right here in Orlando. So ultimately, I'd like to work for either Disney or Universal designing. I know they're doing the whole Epic Universe Park, or these things are done years in advance, but there's lots of really unique media opportunities kind of working with new forms of media. So that's something I'd really like to get into, and I specialize in editing. So if I could find a way into that, that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's terrific. Gosh, I never worked directly with Disney down here years ago. I mean, I worked on Disney contracts and stuff, but usually it came out of LA though. It wasn't local work. I do know that there were several people who worked in the Disney family, so to speak, and it was a very sort of tight-knit group of people in the old days that did all of that work out here for Disney and MGM. That's a tough nut to break because there are people that are in it now that have been doing it for 20 years or more, and they're not quite ready to retire yet. And it's a small group. It's not a big local industry like you might think it is. I do know that there is a former Disney cinematographer that is now the K5600 lighting rep for Central and South Florida. I'll see if I can dig up her name for you, and she might be somebody that could steer you in the right direction in terms of some contacts and people to ask or approach for work.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, she used to freelance for them, but got hired on a regular basis as a camera operator / cinematographer on Disney in-house stuff. So see if I can get that name for you. K5600 is a motion picture lighting company. They're based in Los Angeles, but they have technical reps all over the country who show their products at trade shows and go to film clubs and do demos and things of that nature. And I think her territory actually covers the Southeast, but she lives right here in Orlando, so that's convenient for us. So I'll see if I can hook you two up. Anything else? Anyone? Bueller? No? All right. Well, we'll do this at the end of every session, I think. Give you guys an opportunity to just put some stuff out there. It's always good to offer it to the group. You never know who's going to have some information or a contact that you can take advantage of. And so we'll see if we can create a little organic chemistry here in the coming weeks. Okay. That's all I've got for you today, folks. So at this point in time, I would like to ask you all for a motion to adjourn the meeting for the week. Do I have anyone who would like to make a motion to adjourn? That's as simple as saying aye. Anyone? We have an aye. Do we have a second? We have a second. All right. So that's it. We'll adjourn for this afternoon. Thank you for your time and attention. I appreciate it. Good talk so far. If you have any questions, remember you can reach out to me through email. We can have a private Zoom, or we can discuss it openly next week in our next meeting. Okay. Tuesdays, 3 p.m. Okay. And thanks for coming. I hope to see you all again next week. Take care.
All right, see ya.